There are 35 bosses in LEGO Marvel Superheroes, and today I'm going to be ranking them from worst to best. I will be including all of the Deadpool level bosses in this ranking on top of all of the main story bosses. Number 35, Toad. How can this be labelled as a boss fight? The only reason this fight exists is to literally unlock the character of Storm. It is finished before it even begins. You literally tap a button 3 times and Toad is defeated. For the positives, I guess it adds to the feel of the X-Mansion being attacked, but it feels like wasted potential in my opinion. He didn't even do his iconic dance. Number 34 is a boss from the same level. It's Pyro. I'm puzzled by the decision to place another button mashing boss fight right after Toad. Pyro comes up almost immediately after. Visually, this one is a lot more interesting with the epic ice versus fire beam battle, which reminds me so much of the Harry Potter games. Again, nothing much here. I guess they did Pyro justice in the open world of his tire pile boss fight where he shakes his hips like Shakira, Shakira. Now, I decided not to include the few open world bosses on this list because they are all very similar and pretty basic. If I had to pick a favourite, it would be the Sentinel, then Red Hulk, Pyro, and finally Curse as the worst. Number 33 is a villain with breath so bad it could clear a room faster than a fire drill. It's Abomination from Sand Central. Okay, so Abomination is our final button mashing boss on the list. Hey, but what I like about him more than the others is his actual presence right from the start of the game. Instead of just standing there like an idiot, he actually throws cars at you. Then you get to the fist fight, and this animation is so iconic and still super fun to watch, and if you do happen to fail it somehow, I love how he just throws Hulk like he's worth nothing. Get out of here, you big green sack of... Anyway, for a boss, Abomination is very poor. Considering he is the first boss in the game, I understand why they made him super basic, and I am glad they kept it simple, as it doesn't take away from the main boss in the level, Sandman, whose boss fight is awesome, and you do fight Abomination again in level 4, and that boss battle is seriously underrated. Now, before we move on to the next spot on the ranking, I just want to say a massive thank you to today's sponsor, Marvel Strike Force. Marvel Strike Force is a epic mobile squad RPG game that allows you to battle with your favourite team of superheroes, super villains to defeat threats like Doctor Doom, and if you are a new player, you can unlock up to 17 total characters within the first 30 days of playing, such as Spider-Man, Thor, and more favourites. And the game features epic PvP modes with tons of outfits to unlock and gear to collect. Oh, and hello, we have just been invited to an epic pool party event. This is to celebrate the release of Deadpool and Wolverine in Marvel Strike Force, and if you use this special promo code MUTANT, you can unlock Deadpool and Wolverine for free in-game, and if you play through the pool party event, you can collect this sweet Deadpool outfit, which you do not want to miss. So why not download Marvel Strike Force today and join me by clicking the link in the description or scanning the QR code here. Anyway, thank you Marvel Strike Force for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back to the ranking. Number 32, Green Goblin. I bet Green Goblin is like, you can't do this to me. Well, I can, and it's such a shame. The Green Goblin boss fight in level 3 is such a massive letdown. He teases you at the start, making it clear a boss battle is coming up in the level, but when you finally face him, it is over in a flash. And what really angers me is that the setting is perfect for an epic boss fight, and swinging up to him as Spider-Man feels really cool, but after one hit, he flies off. I'll see you in level 9, mate. Instead of a brief, underwhelming fight, they could have just skipped this boss fight entirely. It would have been more effective if Goblin had just blown up the elevator to progress the story, and as you climb the elevator shaft, maybe have him throw pumpkin bombs at you. Although we do get a more satisfying Green Goblin battle later with the Fantastic Four, I really wanted to fight Goblin with Spider-Man more, as I love Spider-Man 1 and that is my favourite Spider-Man film. And I never understood, on your way to the Green Goblin boss, why do the scientists start attacking you? Mate, your boss is a psychotic murderer. Woo, he must be on good pay. Number 31, Jarvis. Yeah, no one remembers this boss fight. You might remember his fat head staring you down for most of the level, which is really creepy. Mate, you can leave me alone now. please. Now, on paper, Jarvis seems like a really intriguing choice for a boss. Instead of just smashing a computer to defeat him, you actually have to solve a short puzzle by deflecting beams into the mainframe to override his system. However, this is no LEGO Indiana Jones light reflection puzzle. All you do is use Captain America's shield and point it at the right spot. They easily could have made this a lot more fleshed out. Like I said, a LEGO Indiana Jones light reflection puzzle would have been nice here. Now, Jarvis does fit really well within the level's theme, giving us some really cool moments like the Mark 42 suit up and his system rebooting. Unfortunately though, these highlights come after the boss battle, if you can even call it a battle. I just wish Jarvis spoke or fired lasers at you and posed more of a threat, and if he did, he would rank a lot higher on the list. At least he lasted more than a second, unlike Green Goblin. Number 30, Malekith. For the final boss of LEGO Marvel Superheroes, Malekith leaves a absolute foul taste in your mouth. You need 200 gold bricks to start this level, and it is easily the worst Deadpool level. It just looks hideous. Not only that, it is really unclear with what you have to do. I am looking at you, stupid rock elevator. To defeat Malekith, you have to constantly throw your hammer at the platform underneath him over and over again, and it just gets so repetitive, and he just stands there doing his idle animation. Mate, at least throw the fireball at me. Malekith is also a really buggy boss. If you knock him off the platform, you cannot defeat him until you take out the platform. The best part is bullying him on the floor. That is why I placed him above Jarvis. Yeah. I mean, I didn't expect Malekith to be a good boss. He is poo in the movie, and his boss fight in LEGO Avengers is no better. Ugh, that ugly red filter. For the final boss of the game, not good. Number 29, Shocker. Shocker Khan. Shocker Khan, Shocker Khan. Shocker is on the exact same wavelength as Malekith. He is not a great boss at all, but what I like about Shocker is when they introduce him, they use the building animation to show him robbing the bank. As for the fight, it is enjoyable. It's quite charming, actually. You have a great cast of characters to fight Shocker with, and the entire setting of the bank just looks gorgeous, and he is just basically a buffed up goon. It would have been nice to maybe see him use his special abilities, but at least this boss fight is not boring like Malekith, and the setting is just a lot better. Number 28, Kingpin. Vanessa. I get it, LEGO games are all about keeping things light and humorous, obviously, but sometimes they take it a little bit too far. Like with Kingpin, I mean, come on, I'm breaking into your office and you are tap dancing? Seriously? Kingpin should be this imposing, powerful brute, but instead they dial down his menace for laughs a bit too much. So to defeat Kingpin, you have to drop 3 massive chandeliers on his head. The only one that is a little tricky is the last one, as if you get too close to him, he will blast you back with his cane gun, and this is technically the only time he fights you. I wish his weapon was this powerful in-game. If Red Skull's gun can knock you back, why not Kingpin's? After playing Spider-Man PS4 and coming back to this Kingpin boss fight, it makes me realize how much they made him a joke in the game. Number 27, Leader. Until recently, I gained some appreciation for this short, forgettable boss. I mean, the Leader is a D-list character at best, and he has a boss fight in this game. I will still never get over them introducing Carnage in a cutscene in the same level and doing nothing with him. He should have been a boss here, not Leader. However, what made me appreciate the Leader more is that there is a nice little hidden secret detail with this boss fight that you will not pick up on unless you replay the story, and that is, if you enter the boss fight as Bruce Banner, there will be a unique voice line from the Leader, Bruce Banner, compared to if you enter it as the Hulk. That little hidden detail places the Leader above Kingpin. In terms of the fight, nothing too special happens. You destroy some metal objects, he mind controls you, you make a simple swap and beat him down. But at least he has a little bit more to him compared to other bosses with one heart, and he does escape at the end of it. Who knows where he goes? Number 26, Ride Like the Wind, Bullseye. And at number 25, I have Elektra. These two bosses appear in the same level as Kingpin, and surprisingly, I found these mini-boss encounters more enjoyable than Kingpin. First up, Bullseye felt like a mini Red Skull boss fight. As for Elektra, her battle was quite unique. To defeat her, you needed to lure her down some trapdoors to stun her, creating an opportunity to attack, and this actually added a layer of strategy that made the fight stand out, as you had to kind of time when to hit her. And you know what? I actually have zero complaints for both of these bosses. They work really well, especially with them being back to back, and they just feel snappy and quick. Now obviously they're nothing too amazing, and we do have some better bosses coming up. Number 24, Iron Patriot. The return of the classic LEGO game Disco Floor puzzle with a boss fight twist was really cool to see, and Iron Patriot is the only boss in the game that is not a villain, and it's just a breath of fresh air. Instead of fighting, you are doing a dance off, and it's really funny to see all of the heroes hitting their dance moves. I mean, look at Hulk go. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Then you have Wolverine. Cheer up, bud. You might argue that this isn't a typical boss, but he is listed as one and even gets a boss intro, and it's just got a lot of charm behind it, and TT Games never miss with their disco music. It's a really nice change of pace. Number 23, Electro. Remember the floor is lava challenge? Well, this boss fight is basically that. Electro covers the floor in electricity, and to be able to fight him, you first need to rescue 3 civilians, forcing you to navigate through the bank using parkour, and to help the civilians you have to build paths. It's a really strong start. I love how it makes you use all of the characters' abilities creatively to rescue the civilians, but once the civilians are safe, the boss fight takes a nosedive. Electro goes all unlimited power, and all you have to do is switch characters and hit him once. Unlike the others, I actually understand why they gave Electro 1 heart. I mean, most of his energy went into electrifying the floor. Bro is probably knackered. And moments after, you do end up fighting Shocking Shocker in the bank vault, and it does give me vibes of Lego Batman the video game, you know, when you battle Two-Face and Riddler in the bank. They do work really well back to back in terms of a level, but I am purely looking at the bosses individually here, and Electro starts off really strong, but unfortunately he couldn't last any longer, and he finishes very poorly. Number 22, Sabretooth. Okay, Sabretooth is Malekith done a little bit better. He never attacks you, all he does is wave like he is air traffic control signaling in an aeroplane just to be hit in the face. Can you see why I really do not like this boss fight? And the level hypes him up too, and he is the biggest disappointment ever after Homelander. You pick things up as the Hulk and wait till the right opportunity to launch them at Sabretooth while fighting inmates over and over again, and I am so glad he gets sucked up by a vacuum at the end of the level. The only praise I have for Sabretooth is that battling on a rising elevator as an arena is epic. Anyone else get LEGO Star Wars 3 Nouveau Vindy boss fight vibes from this? The setting really sells this boss fight, and I guess it is fun to constantly beat down a load of enemies, and you do get a lot of studs, so there's another positive. Number 21, Dormammu. Wait for it. I've come to bargain. Yeah, if you give me that, I'll give you this, and then that's a good deal, isn't it? No. What do you mean, no? Anyway, the Haunted Sanctum Sanctorum setup and build up towards the boss fight with Dormammu really pushes this boss up on the ranking as you chase him down from room to room. The eerie soundtrack and horror film references like The Shining just gets you pumped for the standoff, but this is where my praise for my hot-headed friend eases out. Dormammu is a little too beefy for a Deadpool level boss, and it just drags on and gets dull very quick. I like how you have to use the characters to cleverly beat him, such as Human Torch, who is immune to his laser beam, and Doctor Strange / the Invisible Woman can go invisible to sneak behind him. Here's the thing though, you can just stay as the Human Torch and make this fight super easy, and I really wish you fought him throughout the multiple rooms in the Sanctum Sanctorum instead of staying in the dining room, and Dormammu gets extra points for his goons. They're just skeletons that fight you. My favourite thing about Dormammu is when you track him down through the Sanctum Sanctorum, and the fight is good, but 6 hearts is a bit overkill. We are now moving into the top 20. Number 20, Mysterio. Did you just call my work barf? What makes Mysterio special is that it is one of the rare moments where you play as a villain facing off against another villain. The comedic factor is straight in with this boss fight, and it just makes it a lot lot more fun and enjoyable. You're basically chasing after Mysterio because he nicked your chessboard. Yeah, and throughout the fight, Mysterio is constantly teasing you while you solve puzzles to try and lure him out of the cells, and this is where most people discovered Mystique can transform into different people to bypass security cameras. And being in the prison, it definitely gives off vibes similar to the Scarecrow boss battle from LEGO Batman 2, but here's the thing. I wish they had pushed Mysterio's powers even further, like they did with Scarecrow, messing with your perception and really amping up the mind games, and we see this a little bit with the next entry. It was nice to see the Mysterio boss last the entire level, and it didn't get dull like Dormammu, but there is so much untapped potential for a Mysterio boss fight, and even LEGO Marvel Super Heroes 2 didn't do him any justice. Let's hope the next LEGO game gives it to us. Did anyone play Shattered Dimensions? That's how you do a Mysterio boss. Number 19, Nightmare. The Nightmare boss fight is borderline the same as Mysterio, and even with him using his powers to mess with you, it is still far from perfect. You chase him down and then build ramps for Ghost Rider to hit him with, and I like the little detail where his giant illusion in the center of the level shrinks the more you attack him. And because it's a Deadpool level, you also have your fair share of funny moments like Captain Britain riding a bucking Bronco and Nightmare riding around in a mini car. It's ridiculous, but it is pretty funny. Nightmare is definitely a big improvement on Mysterio and Dormammu, and with Ghost Rider riding around in the center of the map, it does add an extra layer of difficulty, but I wouldn't call this a boss fight, I would call it a game of hide and seek. Number 18, Lizard. Getting an entire level dedicated to fighting the Lizard was a dream come true for me as a kid in 2013, as this was the year after the Amazing Spider-Man 1 released in cinemas, so I do have a little bit of a soft spot for this boss. But even taking my rose-tinted glasses off, the Lizard's design is just absolutely gorgeous, and we all remember seeing this epic transformation for the first time in this level. Having Spider-Man and the Thing teaming up is just a great duo to fight the Lizard with, and you actually get to fight a big character with a big character on your own without no button mashing event. And Kurt Connor's dialogue when he transforms into the Lizard is so over the top. Kurt, calm down, mate. I am going to admit the fight could do with a lot more flavor, like maybe if the giant crocodiles actually attacked you, and why are they so big, and some goons on the way would have been nice to fight. The puzzles are very simple as you only use Spider-Man and the Thing, so there's not much you can do with the puzzles, but there's just a lot of charm behind this boss fight, and I don't know where it comes from, whether it's watching Kurt Connors transform into the Lizard 3 times, hearing him scream. Sometimes, and I'm sure you can agree, you do not need a boss to be challenging or anything special for you to enjoy it, and that's what Lizard is to me. He's just great fun. Number 17, Rhino. Taking you by complete surprise, Rhino appears in level 12 just before you fight Magneto, and if you know, the jungle arena just looks so cinematic as Rhino dashes from left to right, and having a mixture of Magneto goons and dinosaurs attacking you while all this chaos is happening makes for a hectic fight, and I never got why you build a giant pumpkin for Rhino to dash into though. Why a pumpkin? And I have to give credit where it's due, they didn't just recycle the brawl animation when you face Rhino as the Thing, they created a whole new animation, which is a nice touch. Watching Rhino run off with a giant pumpkin on him always cracks me up. I have zero complaints for Rhino. Unfortunately, he cannot go any higher up on the list as he is only meant to be a mini boss, but to say he is a mini boss and he is this high up, it shows how good he is. Number 16, Howard the Duck and Vulture. I have never ever seen a boss as bad as Howard the Duck. Bro kills himself and then you move to fight the Vulture, who is the best Deadpool level boss in the game, and it's all down to its stupidity. It is pure jokes from start to finish, blowing up cursed 4 balloons. Like, seriously, how can you mess up a LEGO character this bad? I am Thor, the god of width. Then Mr. Fantastic turns into a bird nest, and it's just all out bonkers, and the reason you do this is to trick the Vulture. He must be dumb. It's not the most revolutionary, mechanically amazing fight, but the comedy really sells this one. See, Vulture suits being a comedic boss, unlike Kingpin, and we cannot ignore being in the Marvel HQ. It is so darn cool seeing all the concept art, and especially the painting of Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. It's a really nice homage to the creators. Number 15, MODOK. The MODOK boss battle in LEGO Marvel Superheroes is seriously underrated, and it doesn't get talked about enough, and this is what I wanted with the Sabretooth boss. The layout is pretty similar. A large arena, tons of enemies spawning everywhere, but here's the difference. MODOK actually fights you, and I was really impressed with how many moves he has for a LEGO boss. First, there's his lava spewing move that covers the whole arena, keeping you on your toes. Then you have his gust of wind move that without fail always sends me flying if I get caught in the air with it. And let's not forget his psionic beam when MODOK goes nuts with his screaming as he does. And I would say MODOK is the most difficult boss in the game because it's not that easy. There's that many enemies spawning in. Trying to target him and attack him on the floor with all the lava can be a challenge. It is super rewarding when you hit him and see him blast into the water. We're blasting off again! Unfortunately for MODOK, what drags him down is how he is just a combat-centered boss. It is pretty much goons and punch, goons and punch. The difficulty and all of his moves save him. Number 14, Red Skull. Captain America teaming up with a Human Torch. That is a great start already, and we haven't even got to the boss. Remember that achievement you get when you play as them both? Don't I know you? This is why we love LEGO Marvel Superheroes. If you don't get it, come on. When it comes to fighting Red Skull, the game lets you use your own initiative to figure out how to get close to him without getting knocked back by his OP weapon. And there is just something so cool about slowly walking up to Red Skull inch by inch, blocking every bullet he fires, and then bam, you get to watch an epic little cutscene where Captain America just beats him. And the battle isn't just about Red Skull. Between fighting him, you have to take down 4 turrets controlled by Arnim Zola, and the puzzles are the same for each turret, which is a little lame. Points deducted for that. The banter between the Chris's is hilarious, especially when they take the mick out of Red Skull not having a nose, and to me, Red Skull just has a bit of everything. You've got an epic button mashing cutscene, tons of goons, giant turrets that you need to dodge, and that's why I place him above MODOK, but there's some serious competition coming up. Number 13, Mystique. A doppelganger boss that teases an upcoming boss fight is a super creative idea, and you do not even realize this until Mystique is defeated, and dodging Mystique's attacks is not easy at all. You have to deal with dinosaurs and mutant minions with different powers, and to take her down you have to build objects from the debris she throws at you while she hurdles more objects at you. Then you pick up what you have built and launch it at her with the thing, and seeing all the magnetic particles explode is visually awesome. You do end up repeating this 3 times, which would be an issue with other bosses, but each time Mystique creates something new from the debris that keeps it feeling fresh, and you have to try and dodge them, like a giant alarm clock which chases you down and a massive frying pan. Then when she is defeated, you get the awesome reveal that you did not fight Magneto, making you eager to actually fight him, and he is a great boss and he is very high up on the ranking. Overall, Mystique is a very creative boss with an awesome twist. Number 12, Dr. Doom. The Dr. Doom boss battle is not good, especially when you focus on Doom himself without considering the massive Doom bots. I'm not classifying the Doom bots as mini bosses though, as they are part of the overall fight with Doom. This is why he is higher up on the ranking. When it comes to Dr. Doom, the battle is so underwhelming. You deflect his laser turret with Cap's shield, hit the power source, and then simply switch characters to strike him once. It feels more like a routine than an epic showdown. The Doom bots, however, are a different story. They feel like mini Rhino bosses and provide a fun challenge that requires you to use each of the characters' abilities to take them down, and it's super amusing to see them floating in space after you defeat them. The Doom bots really carry this battle alongside the setting. Okay, do not get me wrong, it is still a fantastic boss, but this is Dr. Doom. I had high expectations going in and just wanted more from him. Gliding in just outside the top 10 at number 11, Green Goblin. This is how you do a proper Green Goblin boss battle, unlike the other one. The castle in Latveria has to be my favourite boss arena. Seeing Goblin weave in and out of the giant windows as he throws them stupidly broken pumpkin bombs down on you is so cool. And we get to play as all of the members of the Fantastic Four here, making use of each of their distinct powers to knock Green Goblin off his glider, which is super funny to watch. All of my complaints with the earlier Green Goblin boss battle have been met here, and I am so glad they delivered with Green Goblin and didn't disappoint us after what we got in level 3. Unfortunately for Norman Osborn though, the next lot of bosses get super super creative and the competition gets tough. And just before we get on to the next boss, hello there guys, I am RuggedEagle, and if you have gone to enjoy this video, I make tons of LEGO game videos on the channel, so why not subscribe, and a like would be super appreciated. And thank you so much for the support. Anyway, let's get back to it. Number 10, Mandarin and Aldrich Killian. The ending to this boss battle is so good. It is one of the best things in LEGO Marvel Superheroes. Watching all of the Iron Man suits fly in to save the day, this is one of them moments you will never forget. Even Deadpool joins in the top right. Can you see him? Oh, the way the camera pans around the helipad is so cinematic. And even before this, the boss fight is fairly decent. You have tons of goons to fight, and then you have Aldrich Killian, whose death could have been a bit better. Bro just explodes. The end sequence of this boss carries it up the ranking. Number 9 is going to be a bit of a controversial one. Venom. I just had to do it. Yeah, the jump scare is one of the most iconic cutscenes ever in a LEGO game, and it just sets the tone for this boss battle. The gooey, disgusting, symbiote-infested lab is a blast to battle in, and you effectively use Venom's weaknesses to overcome him by blasting loud music, building a Star Destroyer-sized flamethrower, and then you ring a bell, which is a really nice callback to the scene from Spider-Man 3, and I wished they made an Eddie Brock character model for Venom instead of just putting a random civilian underneath the symbiote. Venom's goons are by far the most unique of all the goons in the game, as they can actually knock you back and they also throw potions at you from above. A part of me wished we got to fight Big Venom, but overall this fight is really good, and I think the main standout to me is how you effectively use Venom's weaknesses to overcome him. Number 8. Dr. Octopus. Many of you are not going to agree with me sticking Dr. Octopus above Venom, but please hear me out. I love when boss arenas get smaller due to bosses tearing them apart, and Dr. Octopus is the only boss to do this in the game. He just smashes Times Square up like it's nothing. Unlike other boss fights, this one is all about being patient, requiring you to dodge Dr. Octopus and look for an opening, and the unique mechanic of tearing his arms off is such a great idea. Seeing him sprint around with no arms at the end is absolutely hilarious. Plus, each arm animation is different for when you tear them off, and seeing the crowd cheering you on just adds a lot to an already great boss fight. And if you're wondering why I didn't include the mini Doc Ock fight, well, it happens in the same level, unlike the Green Goblin one. Number 7, Loki. What an intro for a boss. Seeing a giant destroyer rain lava meteors onto you in a frozen up Asgard is beautiful. Unlike Doctor Doom, where you have to deflect a beam, here it has an extra layer of difficulty due to a swarm of frost giants attacking you, and when you pull it off, you have to be super quick to reach the destroyer, and the epic Michael Bay slow motion cutscene when you attack it is just, oh, it's so cool. There's only one big downside, and that's the waiting time. Sometimes you get lucky and those shield deflect parts arrive quickly, but other times it feels like an eternity, and that can ruin your experience of this boss. Then at the end, you have a nice little segment where you have to sniff out the real Loki. I love bosses when they are challenging, and I would say this is the second most difficult boss after MODOK, as trying to stay alive waiting for them parts to arrive can be quite tricky, and even then you have to be very good at your timing, as if you do not reach the destroyer in time, you're going back as an ice cube. Number 6, Abomination. Our stinky breath friend is back. This boss battle always gets thrown aside, and it's not talked about enough. First off, the outdoor prison arena where this fight takes place is massive, and the nighttime setting really stands out. We're so used to seeing the game in daylight, could you imagine what the open world would look like at night? Now, what really sets Abomination apart is the verticality, which is barely seen with other bosses. The whole mechanic of blinding Abomination with giant floodlights is so creative, and it's not just about flipping a switch. While you're climbing up to those lights, you've got to dodge inmates, solve puzzles, and you have to aim it onto Abomination. This bit always makes me laugh though. How long does it take to destroy a light? Wolverine is just standing there. The slow motion shot is worth it though. And if you get too close to Abomination on the ground, I love how he uses his stinky breath to push you aside. However, I have to dock some points here. They reuse the same brawling animation 3 times, which feels feels a bit lazy. If they'd come up with something new for this fight, who knows, Abomination might have got into my top 5. Number 5, Sandman. Sandman is the first main boss in LEGO Marvel Superheroes, and he really doesn't help the game as he sets the bar super high for all the other bosses to come, and it's upsetting that most of the game's bosses didn't even come close to Sandman. Like Venom, this is one of the few instances where you effectively use a boss's weakness to overcome them, and the arena is super long, which makes the boss appear bigger, and it just adds to the scale. Then you have tons of Sandman goons to fight, all while trying to dodge a giant sand hammer, and the reference to the Wizard of Oz when Sandman starts to melt is one of those moments that never fails to put a smile on your face. Sandman is a solid boss from start to finish, and he definitely becomes solid at the end. The last 4 bosses were super challenging to rank from worst to best, but I have done it, and coming in just outside the top 3 at number 4, Mastermind. Why is this character a boss? Look at him, he is the most boring supervillain ever, but they actually cooked, as Mastermind uses his powers to enter your head, making you battle your own teammates, and while all this is happening, you get to watch a backstory on how each character became a hero, like Logan turning into the Wolverine, and he spawns in ghost versions of each hero's biggest enemy. This boss battle is so creative, and that's why I placed him above Sandman, and I love all of the animations for when you break out of being mind-controlled, and especially how all of the heroes try to talk each other out of being mind-controlled. It has some really great lines of dialogue in there. And we are fighting on top of the living Statue of Liberty. Number 3, Juggernaut. I'm the Juggernaut. A boss battle where you get to play as the boss. Yeah, it gets a lot of points for that. And I wish helmetless Juggernaut was a character. Headbutting the floor must hurt without a helmet. I am shocked he is still alive. Okay, and it's not just that you can play as the boss. Juggernaut is an extended version of the Rhino fight, and you know how much I enjoyed that short mini boss. You have to make him sprint into the walls to stun him, and each puzzle is different every time. I do have a small complaint, and that is that the arena can be a little too dark sometimes, but getting to play as some of the best members of the X-Men alongside the boss himself puts him above Mastermind for me. Number 2, Magneto. Magneto is the beefiest boss in LEGO Marvel Superheroes, and the soundtrack for this boss fight doesn't need to go this hard, but it does. You have amazing gameplay and visuals with just the right amount of humor, like Iron Man throwing an iron at Magneto, epic slow motion moments that do not take you out of the gameplay. I have no faults with Magneto. It does upset me that Doctor Doom didn't get this treatment, and for me, he would be my number 1 personal pick. He is like an even better Sandman boss, but you all know who is at number 1. You dare come between Galactus and his meal? It's Galactus, the most iconic LEGO game boss to exist, and when you unlock him, you feel like crying. Getting to play as the villains for the first time makes it even more special, and there are so many characters to play as during this final fight. Watching them come together to take down one big threat is like the battle from Avengers Endgame, but better. The way it splits the characters up is so creative, and I love how he constantly tries to stop you doing the puzzles by shaking the helicarrier trying to eat you. And there are so many memorable quotes from Galactus in this fight, it is insane. You might say I put Galactus at number 1 to be safe, and as much as I love the Magneto boss battle, I am aware how great this final boss is, and he does deserve to be number 1. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and just before you go, why don't you check out my video where I rank all of the X-Men characters from worst to best. Anyway, have a great week, guys. See you in a bit. Adios.